Hello and a warm welcome to all our viewers joining us today. I'm Adnan and I'm delighted to be here with you in today's session brought to you by Y Axis, India's number one immigration and visa consultants. Joining us today is Mr. VVS Kashyap, who has successfully navigated the path to studying and settling in Canada. First of all, let me thank Kashyap for accepting our invitation and making time to come to join us live all the way from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Thank you, Kashyap. I think you're a great example of a successful global Indian, and I'm sure an inspiration to so many of us who are aspiring to make a career abroad, and also those who are looking to migrate to countries abroad. Kashyap, for our viewers' information, Kashyap completed his engineering in computer science from Sri Manakula Vinayagar Engineering College, Puducherry. And he then went on to pursue his career in TCS as a software developer for a good 4 years, where he gained skills in different technologies. He then went on to pursue his master's in computer science from Concordia University, Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Today, Kashyap is a permanent resident in Canada, and it stands, a very good example of his determination and also an expert guidance that he received from Y Axis in his journey. So, to all our viewers who are joining us from different platforms, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, I would urge them to please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Y Axis Careers Overseas, and also our Instagram handle, which goes with the same name. Not only will you gain access to invaluable information about the immigration and study abroad industry, but you'll also stand a chance to participate in our lucky draw today for asking questions to our guest, Mr. Kashyap, on your aspirations to go abroad, specifically to Canada. So let me remind you, you'll have to post your questions in the YouTube chat as well as on Instagram chat, and we'll be happy to take them on. And of course, Mr. Kashyap will answer your questions. I will present them to Kashyap for him to answer. Now, without when you're posting your questions, please share your UPI ID as well as the city and state that you are tuning in from. So, without any further ado, let me hand over the stage to Kashyap. Kashyap, thank you for joining us. How are things in Canada? I hope all good. Please
Hi.
feel free to share your experience and your journey so far.
Yeah, good evening, Adnan. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Am I audible to
Yeah.
you?
Yes, you're audible as well. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for
Perfect.
the nice words, and I appreciate it. So everything is going in good, Canada. So before it was in the temperature was in negative. Now it's in positive, which is a positive sign. And yeah, as you mentioned earlier, I was doing job at TCS and had some gained some required skills, and through that I applied for masters at Concordia, and it's 2 years journey doing masters, and we had a very nice study environment here. And after that, yes, I applied for PR after gaining 1 year work experience, and after which now I'm PR in Canada and looking for citizenship.
That's wonderful, Kashyap. I will. So we'll keep our session very organic. I will take the questions as they come in from our audience, and also ask some questions from my end, which I think would be very specific to and which would be very specific to the interest of the audience that we expect today, mostly students and also working professionals, and I'm hoping a lot of parents too, right? So I would want to, keep our conversation going step by step, right from where it started, how it all began. Let us go step by step. How and why did you think of going abroad and doing a master's, and especially in Canada? Why not any other country?
Yeah. So firstly, when I was working, I felt that I have to develop myself. So and I saw many countries and found that Canada has it's a combination of security, safety, and also there are more opportunities, and, and it's also possible that you would be able to get a permanent residence easily, and the process is quite simplified. It's easy to understand, and you can apply and able to get
So
success
it's
almost every time.
interesting.
Yeah.
Very good, very good. It's really interesting that you mentioned security. Was that a priority for you?
Yes, of course. When you're going out of your country, you would obviously check that you're safe in the new place, and also ensure that you're being valued at the place.
Of course. So, what? How did you select your university? Generally, there's a lot of talk about. Generally, students are not aware of how to go about doing the research for the right institute and the right course, and they depend a lot on consultants and expert advice. How did you do your research? How did you select your course? And how did you end up applying for the universities that you did, and the admission with Concordia University? Can you please
Yes,
throw some light on that?
yes, sure. I was look when I was working, I was looking at different countries as I mentioned before. So I found that Canada would be ideal one for me, and I'm also checked for different consultants available, and I found that Viaxis is on top, and I checked the reviews and everything. So I felt that they're genuine and I can go with them. And then I had a call with, I think you guys said as process consultant or something. But whatever the role is, like
Yes.
I've been
Yeah.
assigned a process consultant, and they started to walk me through all the courses and all the universities, and they told me about the advantages and disadvantages. And I kind of applied around 3 to 4 universities, and they also mentioned that if you're applying in Montreal, you might need a CAQ, which is an extra document. So it's kind of they walked me through all the universities and colleges and the courses. Even though I'm sure about it should be computer science, they also provided more opportunities, more options like different streams. But I was more into computer science, and since the department is tagged, locked, so we went with different universities and different colleges, and we finalized like 3 to 4. I think it's Concordia, Western University, and University of Ottawa.
Hmm.
And then in Concordia, I got the admission and I pursued my computer science.
That's very good. And how did the application process go, in terms of what were the documents that were required? Would you share any challenges that you might have faced when applying to the universities, or after having applied to the universities, and any specific experience regarding your application process, and how did it went?
Yeah, for application again, Viaxis provided me the required documents beforehand. So they almost done all work for me. So they filled the college application form, and mainly we were required graduation diploma certificates for to be sent to the university directly. So in that
Hmm.
process, I had a bit delay. So ensure that you're starting it at the first place, so that you go to university, get your documents, and courier it to the university. I mean, you go to your undergraduate university and get the documents and courier
Hmm.
it to your postgraduate university. Apart from
All right.
that. you should also plan your IELTS before, because IELTS, you need for the IELTS test, you need at least 2 to 3 months for preparing.
Right.
So that is one thing. IELTS certificates, and I think that's pretty much, once you get your admission, then the real process starts, like you planning things and seeing accommodation, etc.
So how soon did you begin this entire process? So generally, we see students rushing in, almost at the last minute and in the deadline period. Do you think that's advisable? And when did you start? How, typically it's the fall intake when people apply for masters in Canada. It's for
Hmm.
the fall intake, right, which is August, September.
Yeah.
So when did you begin your process, and when did you take your IELTS exam? Which month? And how much time did this entire process of application take place? And did you have enough time to prep for your travel as well? So, what I'm trying to help our audience with is, help them understand the importance of the timeline. You know, and how you gain an advantage. Hopefully, if you're also one of them, of getting an early bird advantage. You know.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So ideally, if you do plan around 6 to 8 months before, that should be the very ideal state. So let's say 8 months. So if you say 8 months and you start you doing your research. So let's say in September you're starting. I think if you start in Jan, that would be great. I'm going to give my example, but before that, I would recommend
Sure, sure, sure. Please.
starting in January. So if you start in January, you might have 1 or 2 months. The moment you start in January, it's good to book your IELTS slot, considering that maybe you require 1 month or 2 months preparation. So you'll have this slot blocked, and then in March you might be getting your IELTS results, and meanwhile you can get all your documents ready. And if you apply in March, you might get in like 1 or 2 months. Like in May, you should get your admission. Then you have so much of time to prepare things for the travel. And also it helps
Yes.
if you apply in March, like if you get delay in the admission, like let's say they might take 2 or 3 months to get back to you. So you should have enough time for that.
Of course.
And
So those are some very important points that you've made just now. You're suggesting that you should start in January. You should ideally have 6 months in hand before you apply. You should ideally start 6 months before. Is that correct? Before the intake month. Is that what you're suggesting? Let us say it is
no,
August, September. So you should. Uh huh.
if it is September, should start in Jan, so you'll have like 9 months. But 6 to 8 months
9 months
is ideal.
before.
6 to 8 months
Right.
is ideal, but 9 months is like you have all the time in your hand.
Of course, of course, and of course, the mention of what if the application process gets delayed from the university, and or probably you might have to apply to more universities in case you face a rejection. That is always a chance, and you
Yes,
would need
exactly.
time to work on that as well. Of course.
Yes,
So,
and
how was your experience then? uh, Probably, I mean, I'm sure the parents who are tuning in today with us, who are watching this session, probably they would be very much interested in how was your first experience in Canada. Where did you stay? How did you find accommodation? Was it challenging? And did you find enough Indians to stick around with? And did you had that initial support? Did you get that initial support? How is Canada that way? How do they welcome international students?
yeah. So just before that, my timelines were like I started. So I was I want to go to Jan
Of course.
admission at that
Yes.
time.
Thank you.
Uh,
Yeah.
no, I was trying for winter admission at that time, which is in January. So I started back in
Hmm.
June, and then
Hmm.
I did everything by July, August, and I applied in August, and I got the admission in November. But mine is a special case which I need to go to Montreal, so they need an extra document called CAQ, which is not required
Okay.
for other provinces. So
Provinces.
I didn't get enough time for doing that, so I had to defer my admission to September. So
Hmm.
so I just want, it's ideal that if you start like 8 months or 9 months before, you might not need to defer like me. Uh,
Right. Right.
so
Which is very true. Yes.
and Regarding your question about welcoming, yes. So you have Facebook groups, you have so many handles where you can post like you're coming, and then there might be it's like a marketplace, right, in Facebook. So you can post it there and you're saying that okay, I'm coming here on this date, on this location. Are there any accommodations available? And you'll have tons of accommodations available, and you have so many welcoming Indians. So in all the Facebook groups, we'll have a lot of Indians and other countries as well, so it's more diverse in nature, but you'll get great welcome from here, either in the accommodation purpose or from the government as
That's very good. So, what you're suggesting is that the Indian student community is very strong over there, and probably you can also find accommodation from right here while you're in India, even before you travel. Is that
well.
what you're suggesting?
Yes, you're right.
That's
You might
wonderful.
Yeah, you might need to research a bit more because it's you are new to it, so you need to understand. Like, so in India, you might say two-bedroom apartment, but here you would say four and a half. So you might need to know all those terms, and then once you're done, once you know with it, and you can post ads and you can receive responses, and you can also take help of different websites. It's not that you should only go in Facebook Marketplace. There are different websites called KGG and other things. So there you can also find accommodations.
That's very good. Um, so, how expensive then is the accommodation, and how should one be prepared? I'm just getting into the minute details because I'm sure there will be some in the audience who would want us to ask these questions. I would also take this moment to encourage our audience to please post your questions in YouTube as well as Instagram chat. You get to participate in a lucky draw, and the first 10 questions, or the best 10 questions rather, would stand a chance of winning $1,000 straight. And please do remember to share your UPI ID along with the city and state that you're tuning in from. So, having said that, just for the benefit of the audience, Kashyap, if you could let us know, typical accommodation, is it expensive? Is it not expensive? And how should a student be prepared in terms of finances? Of course, Canada does require you to, if you're applying via the student direct stream category, famously known as SDS category, you're supposed to open a bank account in Canada and deposit. Earlier, it was a different amount, but today I think it's somewhere around 20,000 Canadian dollars. And that takes care of your living expenses. But otherwise, how much in reality, since you've been there, done that, and you're currently living in Canada, can you tell us how much would accommodation cost for an individual student, whether it is in, and would there be a difference if you are living in campus versus outside campus?
Yeah, ideally we live outside campus because in campus it would be it's costly. So outside
Mhm.
campus, again it depends on the province, right? Like if you live in Bangalore or Mumbai, it's a different price, and if you live in a different province, it's a different price. So based on my
Correct.
province, which is Montreal, as a student, you would spend around $400 to $500 for a room if you need in a core area and then personal room. Like, but if you don't mind going a mile away, and like if you don't mind traveling like 20 to 30 minutes, so you can get your room around $300 a month. Uh,
Which is not very expensive, I think, and that's very. I'm sure that would be very encouraging to a lot of our audience today. Um, Having said that, moving on from the finances, I would want to understand how was your experience specifically studying masters in Concordia University. How did you find the study program, and how was it different from the experience of you studying in India?
yeah, there is certainly a difference between Indian and Canadian education experience. In India, we mostly focus on the final exams or mid exams, and we in the meantime we don't do any kind of assignments. But in here it's like we are engaged every week, so in every week you have an assignment, so you have a deadline, and assignment holds like 5 to 10% of your final grade, so which means you have to excel every under, I mean, at the end of every week and every month. Like you have 4 months of semester, so you should be able to concentrate and produce results every week. So in that way, it's kind of different from Indian education. But having said that, it's easy like when you do things in like parts instead of doing everything one at the end.
So basically, what you're suggesting is, I'm thinking that's a huge difference from the kind of education system you're used to here in India versus what you've just shared with us. I think then the students, planning to study in Canada or otherwise in general abroad, can I then make a general statement as well that the study abroad experience is going to be more assignment based and more hands on compared to the way we are taught here? And would that require any kind of a preparation for a student before they travel from here abroad, before they join the university abroad? Do you think they need to do some kind of a preparation as well? And would that help them in completing their master's program successfully?
Yeah, it's good to do, but it's not necessary, of course. So obviously, when you start here, they're gonna teach you concepts, and you're gonna start from there from scratch. But yeah, if you're sure about your program, and if you have, let's say you're picking computer science, so in this special case, you might need some programming language to work on. So yeah, you can learn a
Mhm.
programming language and come, but it's okay. You can. It's not necessary that you should do it from there. You can come here and learn as well. But since you asked that question, I think it's good to do that because when you come here, it's a completely different world for you. It's a different environment, and you have to be yourself. So you'll take some time to adjust, like 1 or 2 weeks. So in this meanwhile, yes, it's good if you can prepare and
So also tell me about the part-time work opportunities that you get in Canada as a student. I'm sure some of us are privileged, but many probably would be definitely looking forward to support themselves by doing part-time work while they study. So can you help us with some information over there? Is it easy to find part-time jobs, and would they support you in any way? Would that income support you in any way for your masters? And what kind of opportunities can a student look forward to while they are studying?
yes, everyone here would do a part-time. Whoever is a student here, that's kind of normal. So it's good to get some bucks so that it's good to support yourself and you would be easy like you kind of not depend on parents for everything. So there are so many part-time opportunities over here. So you should be able to easily to get one for sure. And it is kind of difficult to manage both of them for 1 or 2 weeks, but then you'll get used to it. Like you when you come initially to Canada, it's like difficult to this new environment. So similarly, it's the same thing for part time and study as well. But you should mentally prepare that you'll be able to manage both part time and study.
Well, thank you. I'm sure that's a very insightful information. So part-time is not a challenge, is what you're suggesting. Is that correct?
Yes, it's not a
That's
challenge.
very
It's
good.
you will get used to it in 1 or 2 weeks.
That's very good. That's very good. And finding part-time opportunities, of course, is not what I meant to say. Is finding part-time opportunities is not a challenge. So that's a good news. Also, how, of course, after completing your masters, I'm sure you would have applied for a post-study work permit. Was that a challenge? How easy is that a process? Can you throw some light on that as well, please?
Sure. Just before that, before the part-time, we were allowed only for 20 hours, which is
Hmm.
good. But now I think we are allowed 40 hours as well. I'm not sure. If you just wanna like spend like get more bucks, you can get it. I think there
That's
were
very
some
good.
time hour limits before, but I think they increased now. I think the
Hmm.
students could once again check it. Um,
Hmm.
so going back to your question about applying PGWP, right, work permit. Yeah. So once you
Correct.
study, it's very easy. So you're gonna go to border, and then it's just 1 day work. Since you already studied here, you're gonna get your course completion certificate from a university or college, and then take it
Right.
and take it along with your passport, and you go to border, Canadian border, wherever you're living. Like let's say you're living in Montreal, you have a border, and everywhere you have a border, so you can go there and get things done in just a day. That should be good.
So you have to go to the Canadian embassy or the Indian embassy. Where do you have to go to? When you say border, can you be specific?
Yeah, the port of entry. So the Kenyan border,
The
port of
port of
entry.
entrance. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So you
Perfect.
see,
So
see
we
this.
hear that you also find time. So how soon do you have to, and how soon do you need to begin this process of applying for post study work permit? Does it begin only after you get your completion certificate from the university, or uh, can you begin this process before even you complete the study program?
There are two modes. One is offline, where you go to CBSC, Indian Border Security Agency, and another is online. So if it is offline, you get in 1 day. But even though
Sorry,
it's
I'm not able to hear you very well. If you could just adjust your mic, probably I'm thinking for the benefit of the audience as well.
can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, sure.
Yeah, so there are two modes of applying. One is offline and online. So offline is like where you go to border and then you get the document. So
Okay.
even though you prepared before, the course completion is the main document which they require, because only when you complete the course they're going to give you work permit. You can prepare even before, but it's not like very difficult process. Like then you need 2 to 3 documents, set of documents. So you can even start a day before and get everything done.
That's very good. Thank you for answering those questions. Um, we do have questions coming in from the audience now. I'll just take those which are very relevant to what we're discussing. And in the meantime, of course, now that I think you've answered all those questions step by step, your entire process, how it began, and how you successfully completed your masters and also applied for post study work permit. Could you also then tell us how you became a permanent resident? And I think that completes your journey as of today, right? And why did you apply for a permanent residence as well? What motivated you to continue to live in Canada? If you could just share some information with us on that, please.
Yes, after completing study, you can work for 1 or 2 years. So there is something called CRS, so comprehensive ranking score. I think that is the expansion. So once CRS, so to calculate CRS, you have multiple things, like you have to give IELTS again, not the study one. You're going to give a general one. While studying, you're going to give academic IELTS, but now you're going to give a general IELTS. So, and this IELTS score, along with your work experience and your study, all are assigned some points. So all these points accumulate to some score, like around 470 or 480. So this points define your PR application process. So once you reach the minimum point score, so you'll be put into a pool.
Hmm.
And once you put into a pool,
Okay.
and then you will start actually doing all the PR process. So that's the process involved, from transiting from student to worker to for PR.
So, how much time did it take you, Kashyap, to get your PR after completing your masters in Canada?
So for me, I have an work experience in India, so that also added me some points. So I did 2 years of study, 1 year of work, and after 3 years, I started applying for PR. I got my score around 514, as I was mentioning about the
Hmm.
CR score. So once it is above they take a weekly draws at weekly or bi-weekly. So once your score
Okay.
is, you're gonna apply and in the portal. Once government picks your score, so you will start submitting your documents. So for me, it took
Okay.
around 3 years after going to Canada.
That was quick, I must say. That was really fast. So, and it's very encouraging then for those of us who would probably be aspiring to go to Canada. After listening to you, I'm sure they will be very encouraged. Thank you, Kasha, for answering those questions. I have a question coming in from the audience now, and they ask, what is the IELTS score required to get into a good university in Canada? And I would like to extend that question to also the IELTS score that would be required for PR application once you successfully complete your master's program in Canada. I think you will have to write IELTS general for your PR application, whereas for your study, for your admission, you'll have to do take IELTS academic. So,
Yeah.
what is the score that is required? Uh, as posed here in the chat, and
Yeah.
if you could please answer that.
Yeah, just before that, so for me it took 3 years, but it kind of depends, varies on like the person and everything. So let's say they don't have work experience, it might take
Hmm.
4 years. But it is ideal case is like I got in 3 years, but it might take 3.5 or 4 years, but it's very quick compared to other countries. I just want to put that in perspective here.
Sure. Thank you very much. So basically, what you're suggesting is work experience back home in India could also help in your PR application
Ex
process.
exactly.
Very good. Very good.
A- And so regarding a question about IELTS, so to get a good university, 6.5 would be good enough back in 2017. But now I think it should be the same. So it's not just only based on the IELTS, it depends on like IELTS plus your graduation and so many factors like how you write your, what was that, resume? No, it's not, letter, how, it's SOP?
Let me help you. Statement of purpose. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, exactly, SOP. So it depends on like your IELTS plus SOP plus your graduation percentage. There's so many factors which would help you to get your admission. But for the question about IELTS, it's good to get 6.5, and anything above that is helpful for you.
Well, thank you, Kashyap, for answering that question. I'm just looking at the chat to see more questions coming in. Um, there's one of our audience is asking if a study gap is accepted in Canada. I think what probably they want to ask is if there was a gap in study, which is academics. Please, you can correct me if I'm going wrong. The YouTube profile name is Vinu. Vinu, you can correct me if I'm going wrong. If there was a gap in study during academics, is that accepted by universities? And to add to that, probably I would also like to, in case I'm going wrong, the other side of it as well, which could be that after you completed your studies, there could have been a gap in your career, and you chose to do because of various reasons you could not have probably pursued a career, and now you want to do your masters. Is that also accepted by Canadian universities? Gap
Yeah,
during academics, gap post academics.
it's completely acceptable because people here have the culture of taking breaks in between. So in Indian culture, we are not used to take breaks between career, but here they have this tendency to take career a break between careers. So it's completely acceptable. Just that you have to mention in SOP like what you are doing during that break, and that would help to get your admission.
Oh, that's very good. That's very good. And also for the so Vinu corrects me. He's actually suggesting gap after academics. So what you answered, I think, should help him or her.
Sure.
Please forgive me. I do not know who that question is coming from. Which province? Another participant from our audience is good for PR. I think that is from the point of view of the different provinces offering different pathway programs. But what would you recommend when it comes to which province would be good for PR, and probably students can plan to go and study in that province itself?
Yeah, so in a general point of view, Ontario is the best province. So you have so many colleges here, so you have more opportunities and it's easy to get job. It kind of helps for PR, right? So you get your college and you get your job quickly, and that helps you get to PR. So in that perspective, I would say Ontario is the best province to get a PR quickly. And but let's say you're not coming in the student path, you're coming in the work path. You might have different provinces like Calgary, but I think mostly since if it is student and then work and then PR, it should be Ontario.
Ontario. Very good. And of course, I'll add to that. These days, the Canadian government is also promoting the other provinces like Prince Edward Island, Newfoundland, and Labrador. If you go and study, they also offer student pathway programs to PR. So if you go and study in these provinces, the chances are that your PR process will be very easy,
Yeah, for
though
sure.
you do not have work experience. Like Kashyap had suggested a little back, a few minutes back, that if you have work experience, it could also add to your profile when applying for PR. So when you opt for a student pathway program, even if you do not have a work experience, you stand an advantage because it is a pathway being offered by the Canadian government for that particular province. Of course, you'll have to take expert advice and guidance before you choose your study program in a specific province. You'll have to have that knowledge. Thank you, Kashyap, for answering those questions. I think those will really help our audience, and especially coming from you, who is already living in Canada. A success story for Y-Axis, for us, and of course, an inspiration to so many more youngsters who are aspiring to go to Canada. Um, are there now, I'll take a few quick questions because I think the audience started posting their questions a little late. So there is one question coming in from Darshan, which says, can you give some insights on a 1 year master's program in Canada? Do we have 1 year master's programs? Have you come across any?
Yeah, I think we do have 1 year master programs. But the problem would be like the work permit you might get. So you might need to check on that. So I think for 2 years of work, 2 years of study, you will get 3 years of work permit. So that will give you, nice time for getting a PR. For 1 year of masters, you might get only 1 year of work permit. So it's kind of gets difficult to get your PR. But still, it's possible. It's not that you can't do it. You should take a different path. You can check online for that. But yes, it's still possible taking 1 year masters and 1 year work permit. Still, you can get PR. But but most if you see the most of the people pick for 2 year master program and 3 year work permit.
Right. So basic. I think that answer is very important because generally the master's programs or the work duration, post graduation work permit, is applicable to the number of years of your study program. So if you're doing a 2 years master's program, you get a 2 years
Yes.
post study work permit or post graduation work permit, but it has been extended to 3 years very recently, as per the latest announcement from the Canadian government, of course. So tell me one more thing, Kashyap. I think it is another question coming in. What if you do not find a sponsor during your work permit? Will that affect your stay in Canada? Because when you're on work permit, I understand, or rather, the general understanding is that anybody could employ you because you have a work permit. But after your work permit expires, how then would you continue your stay in Canada? What are you required to do?
Yeah, so there are two types of work permit. One is open and one is closed. So when you complete your study, you'll get your open work permit, which means you can work to any employer. So and then so ideally in like 90-95% of cases, once you get your 3 year work permit, you should be able to get your PR in that time frame. So in cases like 10% where you might not get your PR at that time, so you have to pick closed work permit. So at that time, the companies should sponsor you. So if you're working with some prominent companies like for 1 or 2 years of your study, they should be able to get sponsor for the coursework permit as well.
So you are suggesting that you can apply for a closed work permit once your open work permit expires.
Yes. But ideally, you won't get that case because once you study for 2 years and once you have your open work permit, before it completes, you should be able to get your PR. That's how it works.
That's how it works. So, which is definitely a fast track process because while you're working in Canada and while you're still working, you're also able to get a PR. That's I think very good. But then, of course, you don't need to despair if you're one of those unlucky people who probably may end up, not getting a PR. You can still explore further options, is what you're
Yeah,
suggesting.
there are many options. But maybe I'm not aware because there are so many things came up in the recent future. But yeah, of course, we have many options to extend somehow and get your PR.
Right. I would like to take one more question. Please forgive me. Do let me know if you're extending on time. And I
Yeah,
understand the session was only scheduled for 30 minutes, but
that's
if you
okay.
may, yeah,
That's
thank
okay.
you, thank you so much, Kashyap. I think audience also wants to know if PG diploma programs will help somebody get a PR. Can you pursue a PG diploma program, not a master's but a PG diploma, and would that become a hindrance in getting a PR? Because what we understand is PG diploma also gives you a work permit, if
Yeah, I
that is
think
if that is right.
yeah, it's right. I think back in 2017, so either master's or PG diploma is the same thing. So once you study for 2 years, you'll get your 3 years work permit and you get your PR. But now recently the things have changed. It's only applicable to some of the PG diploma courses in some of the colleges. So you might need to check on that. So I think you should have the DLI number. Am I right? The designation
Yes,
learning
the
institute number.
yes, of course.
So that
So,
DLI
for the
numbers.
benefit of our audience, I think because you've used an abbreviation there, DLI is nothing but a designated learning institution. You need to get admitted into a designated learning institution, and every DLI institute has got a unique identification number, and they should be offering you a post study work permit eligible program. Now, of course, like Kashyap is suggesting, there have been recent changes in the laws by Canada. They have announced some new laws which will suggest that you should take expert advice before you decide to do a PG diploma program, and you should consult an expert consultant out there, to know more about PG diploma and whether it can lead to a pathway, PR pathway program.
Yeah,
All right. I think we'll sum it up then. Thank you so much, Kashyap, for being with us. I
yeah, no
think
problem.
you're currently tuning in from Montreal, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah,
Are you in Montreal right now?
yes, I'm in
And you
Montreal. Yeah,
soon plan to visit India?
yes, yeah, for sure. Looking forward.
Looking forward. Uh, well, thank you so much, Kashyap. I wish you all the best. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking our time. I'm sure the answers to the questions that we have asked and the audience have asked, I'm sure those will really go a long way in helping them decide about their future and
Yeah,
their travel abroad. And we wish you all the very best for your future in Canada.
yeah.
Thank you,
Thanks, Adnan,
and
for
you have
having
a
me,
good day
and
ahead.
all the best for students as well. Bye bye.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.